Hi, my name's Al and today I'm going to show you how to service your Shimano hub, or for that matter any other cup and cone hub. You're going to need some cone spanners for this. They're the only specific tools that you're going to need for the job. Everything else is pretty general. Just got to make sure that you've got the right one to fit your particular hub. So the first step is to remove your cassette and your disc rotor. Once they're off and out of the way, we can crack open the hub. Get your cone spanner, put it onto the cone. Get your regular ring spanner, combination spanner, undo the lock nut, and then we can remove the lock nut, any washers, and the cone. It's good practice to lay these all out in order, just so you know which way they've got to go back into the hub. With those undone, you can remove the axle from the hub. Remove it carefully, because there is a chance that you could drop some bearings. And that's the axle, the drive side cone and lock nut. We aren't going to disassemble the drive side cone and lock nut. We're just going to make sure that they're firmly locked together. So give them a good squeeze together with a cone spanner and your regular ring spanner on the end, just to make sure they're locked together and they're not going to come loose. With the axle out of the way, we can get to the bearings. You can pick them out with a screwdriver. If it's magnetised, it does help to pick them out, but you do run the risk of magnetising the bearings, which isn't great because they'll attract any metal particles, but you can make that choice yourself. There should be 9 1/4" bearings per side in most Shimano hubs, and 10 3/16 bearings in the front hub. Now we've stripped the hub down, we need to clean it, get rid of any old grease and dirt. If you've got an issue with the free hub body here, the bit which allows you to coast, then with a Shimano hub it's just a case of replacing it. You can have a go at servicing it, but generally the results are pretty poor. I'd recommend just to remove it, chuck it in the bin and fit a new one. If you're going to do that, you're going to need a 10mm Allen key. Just pops into the front of the hub, and then you just unscrew the bolt which holds the free hub body on. When it comes to cleaning the hub, it's pretty straightforward. A few things to note though: don't immerse the free hub body in any degreaser, so just use a rag inside that part of the hub, because otherwise it's going to get into the internals and it's going to cause some issues for you. We need to inspect the bearing surfaces, so the cones on both sides of the hub need to be checked. Any pitting or damage on these and your hub's never going to feel good. Same goes for the bearings, and also the bearing surfaces inside the hub. Now you can replace the bearing surface on the drive side because it's part of the free hub body, but if you've damaged the bearing surface on the non-drive side, you're going to need a new hub shell, which basically means a new hub, possibly a new wheel. In order to prevent that kind of wear, it's really important that you maintain a cup and cone hub regularly. There's no point waiting until it feels rough to do the maintenance, because it'll be too late. So with everything nice and clean, we can go about reassembling the hub. The cleaner you can get it, the better. It's going to make things last longer. Grease the bearing surfaces inside the hub. So this is the cup of the cup and cone part of the bearing. Plenty of decent grease in there. And then we can set our bearings in place. and repeat for the other side. With the bearings in place, we're ready to fit the axle. So we've left the cone and lock nut on the drive side, so this needs to stay on the drive side. Carefully insert it through. So you don't want to dislodge the bearings as you pass the axle through. Then we need to fit the cone onto the non-drive side of the hub. So we've laid all these out in order, so nice and easy to put them back together. Screw the cone down until it just touches the bearings, and then fit our spacers in order. And finally, the lock nut. With all the bits in place, we just need to set the bearing preload and lock the cones into position. So this cone here, which is the inner nut, we just need to set that so we've got the tiniest little bit of play in the bearings, and they should feel nice and smooth. That tiny bit of play will be taken out of the hub when we clamp the wheel into the frame with the quick release. Ideally, you'd make this adjustment with an axle vise, but it's unlikely that you're going to have a vise and an axle vise at home, so there might be a bit of trial and error involved here. When you're happy with the way that it feels, hold the cone stationary with your cone spanner and tighten the lock nut up against it. Have another feel. Check for that tiny bit of play. Make sure it's nice and smooth. If you're happy, we can fully tighten the lock nut, which will prevent the cone from loosening off in use. So that's it, all done. We'd recommend doing that at least once a year to keep your hubs in good condition. Thanks for watching, see you next time, cheers, see ya.